Dear ladies and gentlemen, everyone joining us today, I would like to welcome you all and following to our last two sessions in the last 2 days. We are now at the last session and the final part of this technical workshop program. Um, Today, the title of the topic or the topic of our session will be road safety in tunnels. In the last 2 days, we have addressed in general road safety as part of a management system, road safety management, and we have discussed intensively the role of road safety audits and road and safety investigations in the road safety management in general. And then we have dived more deeply on the relationship between, or the correlation, or the dependence between road safety and road design in the second session yesterday. Today, we'll be focusing on road safety and tunnels. Let me again introduce myself for those who are joining us only today. My name is Wael Al-Hajjasin. I'm Associate Professor at Qatar Transportation and Traffic Safety Center in the College of Engineering in Qatar University, and also the chair of the Traffic Safety Analysis and Policy Group in the World Conference on Transport Research Society. This technical workshop program is organized by Qatar University in collaboration with the National Traffic Safety Committee of Qatar, the International Road Federation, and the World Conference on Transport Research Society, also with the support of Khatib and Alami engineering consultation firm. Before we proceed with introducing our presenter, please let me give you some, again, repeat the general ground rules of this online webinar. Firstly, all participants are muted by default, so you will not be able to talk or speak or provide any audio input. But if you have any question, please write it down on the, if you have any comment, write it down on the comment bar on your screen. And if you have a specific question that you would like to be addressed by our speaker, please put your question, insert your question on the Q&A bar on your screen. Also, reminding points about this training program in the last 3 days, we received a lot of comments about certificates, and actually we have attendance certificate. Those who attended the 3 sessions from the day before yesterday, from Sunday to today, will be able to receive automatically from an attendance certificate that will be sent to them within 1 week to 10 days after this program. Other important point is that some people asking for the presentations or the records of these webinars. We will not provide slide presentations of the 3 days. However, we are going to provide records, video records of the 3 webinars that will be available through a link, will be sent to all registrations, to all those who registered to attend this program webinar in the 3 days. So whether you attended 1 day or 2 days or the whole program, you will receive an email with the links to access the records of all these 3 sessions. This is all. And now we move to introduce our speaker today, Engineer Guillermo Monteoliva. Engineer Guillermo, he's a senior road safety specialist and member of ASEVI, and he has extensive experience in road safety auditing, as well as in identifying and contributing to the road safety treatments and solutions worldwide. He worked for a considerable time in Qatar and very familiar with the road safety issues and problems in the GCC countries. We would like very interestingly to listen to his point of view and problems that is mainly, as we are focusing today, on tunnels. So Engineer Guillermo, are you with us now? So I will stop sharing my screen, and it is the floor is yours to start your slides and presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Weil. Hello, good afternoon to everyone. I am glad to be here today to present this webinar for road safety in tunnels. First of all, I want to thank you to Qatar University, to you, Dr. Weil, and to Susanna of the IRF to give us the opportunity to be here today and during the last 2 days to understand better what road safety is. In this case, I will be responsible for explain what road safety is in tunnels. So I will start sharing the presentation with you now. Let's go. Well, can you see it properly? Yes, okay, let's go then. What is road safety in tunnels? That is the question. In this presentation, we will try to understand what road safety is in a tunnel. We will see that this road safety is different in a tunnel and in an open air stretch of road. So let's go. Well, as a base of this presentation, we will use the European Directive 2004/54 for road safety in tunnels. It is the European standard that it is used normally. Okay, let's go. Let's continue. What is road safety in tunnels? Well, that's a good question. Road safety in tunnels is a set of safety measures installed in the stretch affected by the tunnel and their effective interpretation and use by the user. This set of safety is composed by the operation of these safety measures by the technicians responsible for the tunnel and the interpretation of these measures by the driver. These two things, the operation and the interpretation of these measures, combined operational, technical, and driver response will give the response to the accident or incident. So it is a complete set of two parts: the safety measures on the road, in the tunnel, and the interpretation by the driver. If there is not interpretation by the driver, there is not response to the accident. In the same situation, we have that if it doesn't exist safety measures in the tunnel, there won't be interpretation by the driver as well. So there won't be response to the accident. So it's a set that must be combined to be accurate. Safety regulation in tunnel facilities. In the case of Europe, we have the European Directive 2004/54, as I said before. Okay, let's go. In other countries, there are many standards to be applied in tunnels. Let's continue. Driving in a stretch affected by a tunnel. When we are driving in a tunnel, the driving is different from driving on a normal stretch of road. Everybody knows. The visibility and perception of distances change for the driver. And the driver anticipation of possible incidents must be higher. For sure, the perception of distances is very important to consider because depending on this perception, we will act in a different way when driving. So the driver anticipation must be higher for sure. The interpretation of signs and beacons must be especially effective. So the signs to be understood must be disposed in a proper place. So the orientation and location of the signs must be specifically accurate. The speed limits are usually lower than on an open road, for sure. If we have a tunnel, with the same speed limit than stretch on an open air, in the open air, sorry, that means that there is not any strange condition when driving in the tunnel that is different of driving in an open air stretch. So the speed limit in a tunnel should be lower always. The conditions are not the same for driving. There is a double situation in case of an incident or accident. Two cases, when acting as a driver or when acting as a pedestrian in the event of an accident. There are some dates here to consider of a driving in a stretch affected by a tunnel. There are less accidents in tunnel than those in an open stretches of road, but they are more dangerous. We have to consider that 97% of tunnel accidents, there are trucks involved. So that means that we have to care, especially trucks, when studying road safety in a tunnel. Fire is the biggest problem in accidents in tunnel. You can imagine that if there is a fire in a tunnel, we have a huge problem to manage. First of all, the traffic, to stop the traffic coming in the into the tunnel, to manage the fire at the same time, to manage the evacuation and all the services, emergency services. So you can imagine the situation of a fire in a tunnel. It is terrible. Signaling and safety measures in tunnels have two specific orientations. Signaling and safety measures addressed to the driver for safe driving in the tunnel, and signaling and safety measures addressed to the driver as a pedestrian in the event of an accident or incident. That means that if there is an accident or incident, me as a driver, maybe I have to leave my car and to continue walking as a pedestrian, to look for maybe an emergency station, an emergency tunnel, to evacuate the tunnel. So I will act as a pedestrian. Tunnel signage. The signs and symbols to be used in tunnels are described in the Vienna Convention of Road Signs of 1968, unless otherwise indicated. The characteristic shapes and colors of each type of signs are detailed, and where possible, the use of graphic symbols instead of inscriptions. It is curious to see that nowadays, most of the tunnels all around the world, in every country, have almost the same signs. We can understand everywhere because the signs are very similar in the tunnels. Unfortunately, it is not the same in the rest of the stretches of the road. The signs for the open air roads. I hope that in the near future, all the countries will have the same signs for every road. Specific signs aimed at driving. It requires, as I said before, accurate interpretation of the message sent to the driver for compliance while driving and in case of incident or accidents. As we can see here, there are some examples of specific signs for tunnels. This is the first one at the entrance of the tunnel. This means that we are going to enter to a tunnel. The next one, the name of the tunnel, the speed limit inside the tunnel, and the safety distance inside the tunnel to keep all the time. The next sign gives us the information, lots of information in this case. We can see here that in 200 meters, we can find an emergency exit for pedestrians. And here that we have a refuge area for emergencies at 800 meters. This is a hydrant for fire, 250 meters. And in 200 meters, we will find a telephone for emergencies. And for sure, the last case is the speed camera. They don't tell us where is it for sure. Here we can see that there's a danger. It is a tunnel, speed limit, switch on the lights and keep safety distance. Well, these are specific signs for some cases for specific signs for the tunnel. There are other specific signs addressed to the pedestrians. As we can see here, there is an exit to an emergency tunnel for pedestrians to evacuate the tunnel. We can see it here. In the next case, we can see here that there is this is a mix for pedestrians. You can see here to address the pedestrians to emergency station, and here for the drivers to an area, emergency refuge area. And here we can see the distance to the emergency exit, not the emergency exit. This is the case to advise the pedestrians to leave the tunnel. Where is the entrance of the tunnel? The entrance and the exit of the tunnel. Maybe this is the exit of the tunnel, 25 meters, and the entrance is at 325. Well, road safety in the tunnel. That is the question. Yes, as we said at the beginning, there are three stretches in a tunnel affected by a tunnel that we will study always. The stretch before entering the tunnel, the second will be the tunnel, and the third stretch will be the stretch after leaving the tunnel. And they will be very different for lots of parameters, as we will see later. Here we can see that this is an area for reducing and adjusting the speed of a vehicle before entering the tunnel. We can see here in Spanish some variable message signs. It says, keep safety distance, as we can see here, and it recommends us to drive with a speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour. Here we can see that another message, caution, breakdown vehicle. Maybe there is a breakdown vehicle in the tunnel, so we have to be aware of it. And in this case, at right side, we can see the sign of caution, excess of clearance. So the case of this track is that it is very tall, and it must leave the highway as soon as possible in the last exit here before entering the tunnel. You can imagine if this track goes into the tunnel, we will have a huge problem. So this area before entering the tunnel is an area with high density of information. It is also an area with the highest density of signaling, as I said before, the traffic lights and beacons. We can see here some signs, speed limit, safety distance before entering the tunnel, and even the name of the tunnel here, and a gantry with traffic lights. So as you can see here, the density of the signaling is very high. And also beacons, we have here more beacons. In this case, we have a barrier to be closed when closing the tunnel, and the lane traffic lights here before entering the tunnel. In this case, we will have information before reaching this area to be aware of what is going to happen when entering into the tunnel. It is curious to see here that this barrier is not protected by any steel barrier. It's the same at this side. So I would do a road safety audit here in this tunnel to be sure that it is safe. In the next picture, we can see that it is a closed tunnel. Look, the traffic light for the lanes are closed. And in the last picture, we can see specific signs for the tunnel at the entrance. We can see that there is a huge, lots of information in this panel. We can read two texts, Tunnel du Mont Blanc, and the distance, the length of the tunnel, and 6 code signs. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points to understand in one site. So we have to study it to be sure that this information will reach the driver. So it is very, very important to consider that this panel will be seen by drivers driving at 70 kilometers an hour. Maybe it is not enough time for us to read all this information, to understand everything. So it will be very important for us to study the location of all the signs and the information we put in a tunnel to be understood by the drivers. Possible layout of the road in the middle of the mountainside, which can influence driving condition. Change from natural to artificial lighting. First of all, we will see that there is a change of light when entering into the tunnel or leaving it, for sure. Maybe this slope in the mountainside can change the intensity of the light depending on the hour of the day. It can change the wind when leaving the tunnel, or even when entering the tunnel. Maybe there is a lateral wind that could affect the driver when is overtaken by another car. If there is lateral wind, maybe I could have any problem. This situation would be bigger when there is a truck overtaking us. Well, no, or even when I overtake the truck. Lateral wind can affect the driver when entering or leaving the tunnel. And for sure, there's another point important, the artificial lighting. Maybe I can be clear when changing from natural light to artificial light. It is an area of greater protection of the road and infrastructure. This area, previous to the tunnel, is also an area affected by lots of barriers, as we can see here, steel barriers and concrete barriers. Because as we said before, there are lots of signs that must be protected. In this case, this barrier protects this panel and this gantry for the traffic light. It is also an area of transition in geometry, defense of road and pavement type between open air stretch and tunnel. The transition, as we can see here, that there is a hard shoulder around 2 meters, 2 meters 50 well, and it changes to a hard shoulder strip here, narrower. It is the same in the medium hard shoulder, and for sure it will be different inside the tunnel. So the geometry is changing in some maybe 200 meters is changing until we reach the tunnel. It is also an area in which maneuvers other than an open air stretch can occur. If we see this picture at left side, we can see that this tunnel, it is closed with a red traffic light and a closed barrier. Well, if I stop here when reaching this traffic light, maybe I can suffer a rear shunt collision. So I must be informed, me and the rear cars at my back must be informed that there is maybe there is any incident in the tunnel, and I have to be informed before reaching this area. At right side, we can see a small tunnel. It is not considered as a tunnel because it is the length of the tunnel is very short. So we can study it as if it was a tunnel, considering that this area before entering could be an area affected by strange maneuvers by drivers. As we can see here, there is a telephone, emergency telephone in the median, and to reach it, to use it, maybe I have to park here in this area at right side. So I would have to cross the road, and maybe this pedestrian could affect the normal driving of the cars in this road. We can see here that there is a huge intensity of light. So, well, it could be affected. It could affect glaring the drivers in this road. Moreover, we can see here that there is a mistake in the steel barrier. There is two noses here oriented to the traffic. Well, that is another point to consider when doing the road safety audit in this tunnel. And here we have another problem. These barriers, these concrete barriers, are not protected. And these walls of the tunnel are not, they don't have beacons. So we will have to do a road safety audit in these two cases. Okay, let's continue. Now we will see the second stretch of the three that we will consider. This is the stretch affected by the tunnel, where there is a drastic change in driving conditions, as we said at the beginning. First of all, the lighting inside the tunnel. The lighting inside the tunnel will change suddenly when entering into the tunnel. And there will be a change between natural light and the artificial light. The lighting in the tunnel will be studied in three different stretches or sections. First of all, we will study the first section when entering into the tunnel. It will be an area with the light adjusting the intensity of the light outside the tunnel, the natural light. The second section of lighting in a tunnel will be the normal light, lower level normally, lower intensity for normal driving inside the tunnel. And finally, we will have the third section with and this section will be the area for adjusting again the lighting, the light, the illumination to the light outside the tunnel. So it will be an area for adjusting this illumination. Okay, let's continue. The geometry in the tunnel will be different, as we know, and we can see here at left side. This is a normal section of a road with hard shoulders, lanes, median, well, whatever, all the elements of a normal section of a road. And we can see here in a tunnel that this section, maybe it is, maybe no, normally isn't completely different. It has also hard shoulders, lanes, but maybe there is a footpath here, or any kind of protection to the tunnel. Okay, let's go. We can see here different models of tunnels with different geometry. We can see in this case a footpath, hard shoulder, a small hard shoulder, lanes, another hard shoulder, footpath, and the barriers to protect the walls of the tunnel. We can see it here. This change is completely different. Okay, let's go. The signaling elements inside the tunnel are different to the signs in an open air stretch. There are two types of signaling, as we said before. For the use as a driver, we saw these cases, the normal cases for the tunnels, for the drivers, or addressed to the drivers, and for the use as a pedestrian, as we saw before, for emergency situations. Here we can see an emergency exit. For the use as a driver, there are more signs, lane signals, as we can see here, traffic lights here, and the normal traffic signs. This is specific for keeping safety distance and the obligation of switching on the lights in this case. There are more elements inside the tunnel that we could consider as signaling. In this case, we can see the public address system with loudspeakers. This is a system to inform the drivers when there is an incident or an accident of any kind of information. If I am stopped inside the tunnel, they can tell us any information from the control center. For example, they can tell us, please stop the motor to avoid filling the tunnel with smoke, or when there is a traffic jam, or if we have to leave the tunnel immediately to evacuate it due to an accident or whatever. Another system that we could consider signaling element is radio. It is a void interference system, VVI, voice breaking. This is a system that interferes our radio in our car and tells us all the information and recommendations for the safety when driving in the tunnel, and information about evacuation and in emergency situation. This is an automatic system that interferes our radio in our car. It is very complex and interesting and useful. And finally, for sure, beaconing. Beaconing, if we have a problem with the lighting inside the tunnel, beaconing can mark the alignment of the axis, for example, the clearance of the tunnel. In this case, if there is fail of the illumination. But there are tunnels, simple tunnels like this one, that they don't have specific illumination. So there's not a lighting system. And beaconing is very, very important to consider and to study when doing a road safety audit. Signaling elements inside the tunnel for the use as a pedestrian. We saw this case for the emergency exit. There are lots of cases that everyone knows. And for the evacuation and for emergency station, in this case for the emergency station for the users, and this case for the firemen. And here we can see a sketch of the tunnel for the evacuation. So they are specific of the tunnel. Now we will study the constructive elements for safety inside the tunnel. We will see here, this is a section of a normal tunnel. This is a specific safety drainage infrastructure. Here we can see that there is a normal tunnel with a wall, a footpath, a curb, and the road with the 2 lanes. Here there is a drainage system. Well, what can we see here for the drainage? That this is very important to consider. The drainage will affect the normal driving when driving in a tunnel. And it is very, very, very dangerous. It is a point to consider. Because if you imagine that there is a leak from the ceiling of the tunnel, or there is a spill coming from a truck that is driving inside the tunnel, this surface water or liquid or whatever must be oriented or directed to the gullies to avoid that this stream could cross the road and provoke aquaplaning. And moreover, during the winter time, these streams could become ice in some minutes. So it is a very, very important point to consider when studying the drainage. There are other systems like hydrocarbon separators to receive the spills from the traffic, from the trucks, to receive these liquids and separate it to pour it into the environment and to avoid any pollution. These hydrocarbon separators are outside of the tunnel, and the stream of the spill must be directed to those hydrocarbon separators. So the specific drainage is very important to be studied when doing a road safety audit. And finally, the VRS, the vehicle restraint systems. As we can see here at the left side, there is a barrier protecting the signs and protecting the walls of the tunnel. It's a very simple case. Here at right side, we have high curves. They could be in other tunnels, a normal concrete barrier, a barrier in New Jersey, or whatever. There are many examples. We continue with constructive elements for safety inside the tunnel. In this case, we can see the first picture is the specific infrastructure for the separation of vehicles and pedestrians in the case of an emergency. This is an evacuation, an emergency tunnel underneath the traffic tunnel. It is in Madrid, in Spain, and it is a very special case for an emergency tunnel. It is this case is a tunnel, an urban tunnel with more than 8 kilometers length. The next case is a specific structure of the tunnel facilities. There are lots of installations in a tunnel, so we have to consider all the tunnels that are integrated in the general tunnel. We can have tunnels for the cables, we can have rooms for the specific installations, electricity installations, or even for the pumps, for the drainage, or whatever. There are lots of systems inside a tunnel with specific constructive elements, galleries, tunnels, rooms, lots of cases. And of course, they must be in a good use all the time, for sure. We can see from now on specific installations in tunnels considering electronic system for safety. There are lots of systems in a tunnel. For example, weather stations, ventilation systems with different kind of ventilation, longitudinal, lateral, lots of systems, CO2 sensors, opacity sensors, temperature sensors, emergency telephones, emergency tunnels for evacuation, traffic flow meters, drainage systems, fire hydrants, etc., etc., etc. There are lots of electronic systems inside a tunnel. And all of them must be in perfect conditions all the time. So it is important to consider them when we are doing a road safety audit. Finally, we will study now the third stretch after leaving the tunnel. It is another stretch and it is specific and it is different from the other two stretches. Why? We will see it now. It is a stretch of contact with the open air road and is also a transition from the twilight of the tunnel to natural light. It is also an area of possible glare to drivers when leaving the tunnel. At the same time, it is a stretch of acceleration of the vehicles to the speed of the section in the open air and when speed limit is normal again. It is also an area where slow and or heavy vehicles can be overtaken, resulting in inadequate maneuvers. We all know that there are nervous drivers always, and they could provoke an accident in this situation. Also in winter season, it can be a stretch affected by changes in temperature, shade, humidity, and wind. As we said, that could affect the first stretch when entering into the tunnel. In this case, it will affect in the same way in the third stretch after leaving the tunnel. And now we will see finally some examples to consider for a road safety audit. These are some cases that I saw recently in Qatar, where I lived for 6 years. And we will see. This is the result of an accident in a tunnel. This is a bus that crashed against an emergency refuge area inside the tunnel. The result of this accident was 28 killing people. Fortunately, there weren't more vehicles affected. And I say fortunately, because if you imagine that after this accident, there are more cars or any kind of vehicle affected by this accident, you can imagine the accident and the result of this accident. First example, we can see here that there's a lane cancelled with the signs specific signs of the TMA track. Yes, this is perfect. We are going to cancel the lane, as we can see here with the lane traffic light. We are going to cancel for maintenance, as we can see here. Okay, that is perfect. But here in this arrow, I can see that I have to wave this lane to the next one. Why? Because I don't know. This is canceled, this lane is canceled, I don't know, but I am supposed to leave this lane. Okay, but at the same time, I see that there are two solid lines here. So, well, I don't understand why, but well, I will have to leave the lane later. I can see here, well, it is not a very good image, but this is a speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour. And this speed limit is the normal speed limit of this tunnel every day during the year. Well, that is the situation we have in this tunnel, that the speed limit doesn't change. And there is an operation here that doesn't affect the speed limit. I don't understand. Well, let's continue. The right lane, continues closed. And we can see here that I am informed to leave this central lane to wave to the left lane, as this car is doing. Stepping over the solid line. Well, it's a strange situation. Okay. We can see here, there is another case telling us to leave the left lane, stepping over the solid line. It is normal. I can see it is normal. And here we can see that there is an electric board without any protection because it is not completely embedded in the wall, and it is protected with the two bollards. Just the same here. I think it is a fire hydrant. Let's continue. We can see here another case. I've been told to leave the right lane. Why? Here we can see this arrow, and at the same time the traffic light is in yellow color and flashing here. We can see it here. As you can see, this truck doesn't mind. He continues driving, and the bus here, they are continuing driving in the same lane. They don't mind. But at the same time, the speed limit here is 100 kilometers per hour. The same speed limit that we have every day. So what is happening here? Is there any specific situation here to have this traffic light flashing and this arrow and the same speed limit? There is not any affection with this situation. There is not any affection of the speed limit. I don't understand. Maybe I have to study this situation. And at the same time, we can see here the lighting. The lighting here is different at left side and at right side. At left side, I think it is the lighting graduated for the daytime. And maybe this at right side is the intensity for the nighttime. I don't know, maybe. Here we can see that we are inside the sun. This is terrible. What can I do here? What can I do to put on my sunglasses to drive? This is by night time. It is terrible, this situation for glaring. These lights should be used at the entrance of the tunnel during the daytime. okay, but not during the nighttime. And it is normal every day in this tunnel. Let's go. Another case here, we can see an Oregon module of a concrete barrier type F inside the tunnel. Maybe this is the affection for the drivers that we were advised with the arrow, the yellow arrow and the yellow traffic light flashing. Maybe it is. Well, who knows? At the same time, we can see here another electric board protected with bollards. And here we can see another hydrant for fire protected with bollards and a ladder for any service or maintenance or whatever that doesn't comply with the clearance for example, for a bus or a truck. We can see it here. Same situation here. Another hydrant protected with bollards, and here tubes for a pumping station. Well, they are not protected in this case. In this case, we can see is another tunnel, the same situation. We can see here fire hydrants and electric board panels protected with bollards, the same solid lines, the arrow to leave the right lane. And finally what happened? That we find here that there is a temporary concrete wall protected with some sort of non-approved device. This is a barrel acting as a crash cushion, and this is inside a tunnel. What do I have to do when driving here? I was told to leave, as I can see here, I was told to leave the right lane. I cannot do it because this is a solid line. And at the same time, I have to avoid any contact with this temporary barrier that has been there for years since the road was opened. So it is important to audit this tunnel. And finally, we have here the same case. There is a temporary concrete wall with a non-accepted device. Well, we continue. And finally, we can see here that we continue with the traffic light flashing. There is an arrow here to tell me to leave the left lane, to leave the left lane, because there is a wall here, a concrete wall here. Well, but the speed limit continues in 50 km/h, like the speed limit when we have normal conditions in the tunnel. Well, as we have seen before, there are lots of specific situations for driving inside the tunnel. There are lots of things to consider: the signaling, the geometry, the systems, the road safety, the systems in the tunnel. So that is why drivers should have a minimum knowledge of safety measures for driving in stretches affected by tunnels. The knowledge of a specific signaling and beacons in tunnels is essential. It is very important to consider this sentence. Any road safety resource shown here can be extrapolated to the tunnels in countries with fewer resources, always complying with local regulations in such a way that it can be a reference depending on the existing technical and economic resources. The application of these resources must seek maximum effectiveness in accident prevention. So that is a way to apply this knowledge to other countries without any specific standards for tunnels. Well, that's all. I have finished, and this is all my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you like it, and well.
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you very much. It's a
You're welcome.
very nice presentation. A lot of information, a lot of examples, and from different countries, from Qatar and also from another countries worldwide. We have many questions actually. They are asking different things. I will try my best to, in the next 15 minutes, we have only 10 to 15 minutes to summarize the questions. Let me ask you in the beginning, fundamental basic question. What are the most common types of crashes in tunnels? And you have mentioned
The
97
most common crashes in tunnels.
in tunnels, yes, and around tunnels, let's say an entry, exit, and through the tunnel. And you mentioned trucks are more involved. Why?
Why trucks are more involved? Because as you know, the trucks are slower than the rest of the vehicles. And if there are drivers that are driving fast, maybe the trucks are crashed by other cars inside the tunnel. It is very simple to understand. It is the difference of speed between normal vehicles. We can see normal vehicles, cars, and buses, and trucks. And also, the trucks, maybe they have danger freights, hazardous freights. So that is another thing to consider.
But first, you know, trucks are also outside the tunnel. The
Yeah.
same traffic outside the tunnel is the same traffic inside the tunnel. So why in the tunnel, around the tunnel area, trucks are more uh, prone to crashes, and most of the observed 97% is very high. Maybe this is can be explained by the type of crashes. What kind of crashes usually? Is it hitting the wall? Is it rear end collisions? What kind of?
Rear collisions due to the difference of speed, as I said before, and the situation of all these measures. No, sorry. How to explain this? With all the conditions we have seen during the presentation, remember the illumination, the safety distance, all these parameters must be considered. So if we don't comply with the speed distance, the safety, sorry, the safety distance between vehicles, maybe the accidentality in the tunnels rises. I can be, as a driver, affected by glaring when entering the tunnel. I can be affected because I'm not able to maintain a low speed, and I am nervous to pass the tunnel. Maybe I don't comply with the signaling, the specific signaling. Maybe I am not aware of the specific signaling, and I haven't been informed because I don't mind. So those situations make that the tunnels are extremely dangerous. That is why the accidents are different to the rest of the stretches in a normal road in the open air.
Can we consider that probably passenger car drivers they perceive risk less than heavy vehicles. And that's why the reduction on vehicle speed is more significant for trucks, which creates a more variation of speed between passenger cars, which usually keep their speed, and heavy vehicles who are more perceiving more risk and reducing their speed. Such variation on speed will create or lead to higher risk of crashes.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, as you know that when you see a nervous driver that wants to accelerate, that driver is extremely dangerous. You can have that situation inside the tunnel, normally affecting all the drivers because the conditions and the speed limits and the safety distance are completely different to the rest of the road, to the stretches in the open air.
So along this point, so usually speed limits in tunnels should be lower than the normal stretch of the road. Is this correct?
Yes, yes, because driving in a tunnel is not a normal driving,
But is
so the
this
speed
part of the
limit
requirement or
should be
standards? Is this
lower.
part of the standards?
What?
Is this requirement of reducing speed in a tunnel is part of the standard? Because we
No.
see in Qatar a lot of standards, a lot of tunnels, sorry, that have the same speed as the
Yes,
main
yes,
road.
yes. But as you can see in the examples we saw, the pictures, the tunnel is not in 100% conditions. Why do you why do you maintain that the speed limit, the normal speed limit? You can see that the big tunnel we saw with all those lights, with drivers, you can see it daily there. Drivers driving around 180 kilometers hour in that tunnel in the left line, in the left lane, and you can maintain the same speed limit when you are doing maintenance inside the tunnel. No,
Yes.
no.
So this is maybe during maintenance, but during a normal operation without any work zone or any maintenance inside the tunnel, it is still preferred, based on your experience, to reduce the speed in the tunnel compared to
Yeah,
the normal
no,
segment.
no, because if there is an accident in the open air stretch, will be a normal accident. Maybe the car leaves the road by right side or crashing with the median. In a tunnel, we are crashing with the walls of the tunnel,
So we need to
and
reduce
we
the speed.
can create terrible, terrible situations as we saw with the bus of the picture of the first picture.
Because this is
In normal conditions, in normal conditions.
yes, no, because this one raises an important question: is that the speed limits are not usually followed by drivers.
Yeah.
So you need to design your tunnel in a self-explanatory way where it directs drivers to reduce their speed. From my experience in Japan, for example, there is very different types of markings, road markings, lane markings, separation markings that perceive the driver a narrowing in the lane once he enter, and there's a kind of default reduction of speed by drivers due to this kind of let's say marking system inside the tunnel. However, when you have large tunnels, like let's take some examples from Qatar with a 3.65-meter lanes, and they continue straight from the straight section to the tunnel, it's very difficult, even if you reduce the speed limit, to observe a reduction on speed by drivers. What kind of solutions we can propose for such conditions?
Oh, eh, that is a general problem of road safety. The problem of drivers who doesn't mind, who doesn't care, who doesn't accept the information given by technicians for the proper use of the road. They don't mind, or they don't know, or whatever. So it is mandatory to have a good knowledge of the road safety for all the drivers. So it is information, public education by the public institutions. And it will affect as well in the tunnels, in the normal roads and inside the tunnel for sure. It is
Indeed.
general. It's a general problem for sure.
I have received several questions about, the tunnel has, let's say, three main sections: the entrance and in the tunnel and the exit. Can we assume, based on crash records, that entrance and exits are the most critical parts in tunnel operation in terms of safety?
No, no, no. The real accidents are inside the tunnel, and the problematic, the real problem is inside the tunnel. At the entrance and when leaving the tunnel, those two stretches, yes, they have specific types of accidents, but they are accidents outside the tunnel. So the
So the most critical is actually the inside.
critical part is inside the tunnel for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, one question is that you showed us from several of your photos that the roadside barriers at the entrance of the tunnel, they always connected with the wall of the tunnel itself.
Yeah.
And is this can cause any risk if a vehicle hit this roadside barrier, roll over? It might directly lead to hit the wall itself. Is this an issue that usually?
It is very normal. It's a normal case. We can see it everywhere in any road when we have a change between a concrete barrier and a steel barrier. There is a contact, and in this case, we have the same contact between the steel barrier and the walls at the entrance of the tunnel. But this case is to protect the walls of the tunnel, and maybe there is a curve there to direct the surface water. And in this case, we can protect this corner of the curve also.
I have a question also regarding the use or usage of audio tactile material inside the tunnel, either in the middle for two-lane, two-way highway roads, for example, tunnels, also at the end side of each lane to give drivers more information when they deviate from the road or from the lane they are in, because usually overtaking is not allowed inside tunnels. So to keep to improve a little bit safety,
Yeah.
is this recommended from your experience?
There are lots of elements to consider to use in a tunnel. This case can be used for sure. There are lots of examples everywhere in the world. The tactile lines to advise the driver that they are stepping over the lane, the line. Well, it can be something to consider. There are lots of things to consider. There are, in other cases, in some countries, for example, in the USA, they love to use studs to separate lanes. Well, it is another way to signalize, to separate the lanes.
Uh, I have also another question regarding the alignment of the tunnel. Is there any requirements for safety in terms of the alignment? For example, should these tunnels be always straight, having horizontal curves inside the tunnels, which is also I saw some tunnels that have a horizontal curve inside the tunnel. The tunnel is not straight. Is this impose more risk of safety, and what we can do if we have such kind of tunnels?
If a tunnel is in a curve or it is a straight tunnel, it depends on the geology most of times. It
Yeah,
depends
what kind if
on
we
the
have
material of the mountain. There are some cases that are designed in a curve at the entrance, and at the exit to make to adjust the illumination, as we saw with the lighting. If we put a curve at the entrance and at the exit of a tunnel, the illumination will be gradual. So there are some cases that they are in curve, and other ones are straight tunnels. There are lots of cases, and it depends on the standards of the country.
Is there any impact of the length of the tunnel in terms of safety?
No, no, no. There are some long tunnels that are straight, and other tunnels have curves. So, well, it depends.
Is there any specific road safety guidelines for tunnels, especially when considering rain, for example?
Yes, we can consider as a base what we saw, the European directive, for example, that was the base for this presentation. But as all the standards, it is a minimum to comply. Road safety, as my colleague Miguel Ángel Serrano says always, complying the standards doesn't mean that the road will be safe. So standard will be a minimum to comply. Mm-hmm. And we, as road safety auditors, we will audit the road, and we will increase the safety measures of the road built and constructed complying with all the standards.
Great. I have the last two questions. First one is, for normal projects, we have road safety audits and different stages of the project. Yeah. And for tunnels, does it follow the same as normal road projects, or there is a special audit that have to be conducted and any special requirements?
No. It's a normal audit, but considering the standards of the tunnel.
Okay. Last question, which is a general question, you can have 2 minutes to answer, is what is the most interesting tunnel project that you have worked in, and what are the most interesting or rememberable for you challenges that you faced there, and how could you and the engineers solve these problems in terms of safety, of course?
Well, I was working in a tunnel. It was a small tunnel, small, 3 kilometers tunnel. And it was enough to consider what is a tunnel. A 3 kilometers tunnel is a very important tunnel with very high risk every day, all the time, 24 hours a day. It is a nightmare. You cannot imagine what a tunnel is. A long tunnel must be a nightmare, always. You can imagine a tunnel in the Alps, in Switzerland or Italy, with 12 kilometers. 12 kilometers length means that the tunnel will have lots of safety measures, specific installations, and well, it is a nightmare. It is a complete world inside the mountain. So it is terrible. It is terrible as a technician to be responsible for a tunnel is very, very risky, very risky. I was responsible for some tunnels in northern Spain, where I am nowadays. And I've been working and visiting in some tunnels in the Alps in Switzerland and Italy, very long, more than 12 kilometers long. And it is a complete world. You can see there that they have even trucks or buses that can be driven through the fire for emergency situations. So you cannot imagine the specific safety measures they have in some tunnels. So it is a huge world to study. So to be a road safety auditor, first of all, you have to be an experienced person working in the road, but especially when you are considering the road safety in a tunnel, for sure.
Thank you, Guillermo. This is thank you for the very nice presentation, a very rich discussion. Usually, this is not a common topic, and very few actually webinars or workshops available on this topic. And indeed, it's an important. And some of our participants, they put a remark that there is no much tunnels in GCC countries, but actually
Yeah.
in Qatar we have quite good number of tunnels here and there along the road network. So I would like to thank you for the presentation today, and I would like also to extend our gratitude and thanks to our presenters yesterday and the day before yesterday, Javier Lopez, Miguel Santos, and also to thank Susana Zamataro, the Director General of International Road Federation, in behalf of Qatar University, Qatar Transportation Traffic Safety Center, and the National Traffic Safety of Qatar, and all co-organizers of this event. We would like to thank you all. Thanks to our presenters who devoted their time for this event, and for our participants who have joined from all around the world. And surprisingly, in the last 3 days, every day we had more than 430 participants in each of our seminars. This is shows clearly the interest, and shows clearly that these topics have a wide range of audience who want to learn more and to get involved more to improve the safety on our roads. And hopefully we can contribute to the international efforts in reducing their fatality and injuries and casualties because of road crashes. At the end, I will give the floor for all our presenters to have maybe 10-15 seconds of any comment they want to add. Maybe we start with Guillermo, he's the last presenter, then Javier, Miguel, and then we end with Susana. Guillermo,
Okay.
if you want to say anything.
What can I say? I want to thank you for sure. Thanks to you, to Susana, and to you, Wael, for the opportunity to be here and to explain what road safety is in a tunnel. That this is a very specific topic, and for sure I am proud to be here in Qatar University. Is the place where I lived for during the last 6 years. So I'm proud of it, and I want to thank you all for your help and for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Javier?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed to Qatar University and the International Road Federation for this opportunity to share knowledge and to try to unify criteria in the road safety knowledge in infrastructure.
Thank you, Javier. It was also our pleasure to have you. Miguel?
Dr. Wael, thank you so much for this opportunity, for allowing me to enjoy talking to the rest of the world, and to connect with a lot of people that are interested in road safety. Thank you to Susana to provide us with this kind of environment that is so good in order to share knowledge. And thank you to every one of you that have been attending to this seminar, because I'm quite sure that you have enjoyed and you have learned a little bit. It's a pleasure, and hopefully after this pandemic is finished, we can rejoin, in a more presential way and we can share our experience around the world. Take good care, all of you, okay? And stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vahel. And I'd like to start by thanking you for having been such a disciplined and passionate moderator. The comments have been amazing over the past 3 days, and I've been reading the chat, and also not easy to screen through the great number of questions that we got. So thanks a lot to you and the team in the center. I think this workshop also shows that MOUs between organizations like the one that the IRF has with the Qatar University and traffic safety centers are not just a piece of paper, and that there are people behind really working, and that these type of collaborations and agreement can deliver great good for the sector. So I thank as well all the speakers and all the participants for the great engagement. And I look forward to, yes, meeting you all face to face around the world for new trainings, hopefully in Doha very, very, very soon. And otherwise, stay tuned with us. We'll keep feeding you with expertise and knowledge over the next month till this terrible pandemic is still affecting us. Thank you so much. Back to you, Bahel.
Thank you, Susanna. And yeah, I think we are always glad to work with IRF. You know, we consider us together as one team, and we will help. We'll always try to help to provide more experience for people. From the number of participation, we can see that the world is eager. People are thirsty to more information. They want to know more. They want to learn more, and we will do our best always to do that. Just final remarks for all our participants regarding certificates. Those who attended the 3 days, they will be automatically contacted to receive their certificate by IRF. Please do not, you don't need to send emails or follow up. Automatically, if you attended the 3 days, you will receive the attendance certificate. And regarding the presentation material records, all registrants, even if you attended 1 day or not of this, or 1 session or not of the program, you will receive the records, the links to the records of the whole program. All of you will be able to access and listen again anytime. And also, if you have any further question in the future, the information of all the presenters will be also in the same page with the links, so you can contact anytime and ask your questions. Some of you also asked about what are the next events. You received many about it today. So your emails, all of you are registered with us now. Once we have any future event, you will all receive invitation. Bear with us that, due to COVID-19, due to a lot of issues now, sometimes planning takes a little bit of time. So once we are fixing all the programs, and we will have very soon other programs that also address road safety in different concepts, you will be informed, and we would like to welcome you all again and to join us. Thank you all. Thank you very much. It was a very nice.
Sorry for interrupting you. If I may take this opportunity, IRF will be hosting on Thursday, so this week, a conference that will really focus on what the recovery means for the road sector. And we have a very strong specific session on safety. So those of you who are interested, get on the IRF website. You'll see the banner really at the top. You're still on time to register, but we are running out of places, so make sure that you register if you want to participate. Thank you, Ahel. Sorry for the interruption.
No, thank you, Susanna. Indeed, this is an important event, and I hope that some of our participants will be able to join. Thank you all. Wish you a wonderful day, wonderful evening for those who are in the evening, and we will keep hope that we will see you soon in another event. Thank you.
Shukran, well.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.